when we spoke, we were talking about labels. We were talking about labels and how you were like, this is normal life for me. And then you moved to Auckland, and
Yeah.
and had some white friends, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, now I'm that Māori girl, or I'm not
Yeah.
the Māori girl.
Yeah.
Like that's a label. Like I was existing without a label, and now I have one.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me because of sort of, colonization and sort of like Pākehā and Māori relationships. I'm quite fair. I'm quite white passing, right? Whereas some of my peers at Kura, my cousins, they're really brown. So I was always at Kura like the white chick, but I was very like okay with it because I knew who I was, like sort of silver in the middle. So like growing up in school, like that word would float around lots, and there are a couple of us who are like white passing, so we would often get called the white chicks, but like I never thought too hard about it, right? Until I sort of started branching outside of Otaki. Like I started coming into Wellington more and more and meeting people from different backgrounds, which I knew they existed. There weren't a lot of interactions. I didn't have a lot of interactions with like people outside of Otaki until like the film festival, but also until I started branching out and like actually like, dipping my toes in the water. And I sort of came across, I found it hard because I would always introduce myself as Oriwa, and people wouldn't know how to pronounce that, right? So Oriwa translates to olive. So then I would just find myself when I came to like big cities, Wellington, Auckland, I would just introduce myself as Olive because that was just easier. People wouldn't know I was Māori and they wouldn't have to know because I'm white, quite obviously. And I can use the name Olive, which is like quite a white name.
Did that feel like weird at all? I've done that too, just to.
You know what, it didn't feel weird at the moment. In the moment, it felt like the right thing to do because it was convenient. But looking back on it, and the more I've sort of like reflected on those moments, I'm like, no, like that wasn't, like I would never do that again, And people would ask me what school I went to, and I would always say like, oh, just Otaki College. Like I was scared of people knowing that I went to a full immersion school sometimes, just because of the reaction that would get out of them. Oh, so you can't like speak proper English, or like, oh, that exists? Or like, oh, that's like, oh, I didn't know that there was like a full immersion Māori school. Like, why isn't there like a full immersion like other schools? So yeah, it was just like a reaction that I was scared to have. And it's not necessarily that I've had a reaction like that, but yeah.
Oh, right, the potential, like there could have been a reaction like that, and it was,
yeah. I would find myself in these like cities, big cities, surrounded by white people, and I would just really wish that I was browner because I was like, I hate this. I hate that I have to put on this persona and act this way to sort of be accepted by these people. It's like I'm too white for the Māoris, sort of, but I don't want to be white. Like, I don't know how to say that without...
I've actually heard lots of people say exactly what you just said.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to be necessarily associated with, Yeah, it's hard. And like...
It's like, I pass as white, but that's not who I am.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then it was like, I would like try to slip in like little like, oh, like, kia ora, or like something like that. Just so like people would like know, like, oh, like, I'm a little bit proud, like, like,